and welcome to Wise Woman Wednesdays. My name is Jennifer Regular, and I am the Soul Illuminator at Lighting the Path, and also host of this show where I get to bring incredible and amazing women all around the world who have an inspiring message to share to help empower you so that you can become who you came here to be and do what you came here to do. And today I have Claudia-Sam Cataford Sauve. She is joining me from Montreal, Canada today. And she is known as your soul connection coach and supports passionate leaders and guides who have lost a sense of their purpose and who want confidence to be able to share their passions with the world. Using her tune in method, she helps you to tune in, grow, and move from within into your light. This includes creating a deeper connection with your higher self and flexing your soul connection muscle so that you can be and access your own inner guide and experience more fulfillment and happiness now. She also hosts the Happy Now show that you can listen to anywhere you find your podcast. Today, she's here to help us get out of our head and into our heart so that we can let go of the overthinking and trust our intuition to make confident decisions that align with who you truly are. Claudia, welcome. It's so wonderful to have you here and joining us from Montreal today.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, from one side of the country to the other.
Yes, that's right. I'm here in Victoria, BC. So tell us how this became your passion to get us out of our head, and how can we really align with our true passion or even know what that is?
Thank you so much for that question. You know, I feel like we live in this world where there is so much focus on what we have to do, who we have to be, the identities that we have. And it feels like, especially in the last 2 years, where the pace of the world had forced us to come within our heart, forced us to stop pushing out, stop proving, convincing, and instead turn the gaze within and go, wait, what am I about?
Yes.
And so, of course, this work became true for me a while back when I used to work in media and events, and I burned out myself. I remember being in a ball in my office and just having a really hard time breathing, not knowing what was happening, and it was panic attacks. And from that place, I decided, you know what? I no longer want to put all of my effort, all of who I am out into the world as my work. I would identify myself as my work. And then I would forget who I am, like on a deeper, soulful level. And so I would mirror this as I was going through life from the head. I was making decisions based on, you know, the pros and cons lists. Have you ever used those?
Oh, of course.
So I would go through life that way, and not that it's wrong or bad. It suited me for then, although I completely ignored all the signs that my body was sending me. And so, to not go in too much detail, I went for yoga teacher trainings. I lived in Nepal. I created the tune-in method based on my experience of, you know, not burning out again, not being stuck in the survival mode. And from that place, I decided to hone into who that divine being is, part of the human experience that we are. And instead of focusing my life only on the physical body, only on like reacting from emotions or acting to prove who's right or to make a point or to convince, instead descending from the head into the heart and knowing that just by being me, I am enough. And I know that that has power. And so now, using my tune-in method in my soul connection coaching practice, I help people to just, get out of the overwhelm, descend down into the light of the heart.
Oh, that's beautiful. And really, that's where we find all our answers, right? And our guidance and how we're guided from our heart. And you're so right about this overthinking or trying to prove or a lot of external influence and motivation. We become so disconnected from our heart, from our spirit, from what our body is telling us, you know, and then end up in a ball, for example, on the floor and having panic attacks because we've become so out of sync and so out of alignment of what was really true for us. That we're looking for any exit, a way out is what
Totally.
ID can really be about, and how did I get here? And going back into the ball is almost like returning to the womb, isn't it? And being back in that space when we're in the womb, in a ball, just kind of conceptualizing and becoming that body form, right? Before we are birthed again. So what was that rebirth like for you, Claudia-Sam, when you came out of that ball and you emerged in this new way of being in your more authentic self? Do you remember that moment and what was birthing from you?
Thank you. That specific moment, and it's beautiful how you describe it. It's true. Because I really literally was sitting in a ball and sneaking my hand up to my desk to grab the phone and call 911 with shame. So from that time, I would say that it wasn't like a instant thing.
No.
It took a few weeks from having heart monitors, having to wear them to see, well, what was going on with my heart, for the doctors to say, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just having panic attacks. Now go deal with them. And it was kind of in a yoga pose that I remember really crying so much, because I was newly accessing depths of feeling the being that I was ignoring. Or I don't know if I was ignoring it because I wasn't conscious or aware that I had deeper levels of being, that I was a soul. I didn't know, because I was so used to go that I would prefer going to spinning classes instead of yoga, at the beginning. So I would say it was a process until it almost felt like, there was this armor that I had lived protected probably from the ego or by the ego. And then as I discovered how it was to no longer live on the outside, slowly it emerges. I think I emerge every day.
Yes.
Every day.
Well, we do, literally. Yes.
There's a new version of me every day. Would you say that's true for you too?
Oh, absolutely. I have a little hanging cushion thing with a saying from Maya Angelou that says, the woman who reinvents herself daily shows sublime creativity. I'm like, yeah, that's me. I do that.
Especially because we go through so many waves of emotion, so many cycles as women. We have an inner cycle. We are cyclical beings.
Yes.
I mean, all humans are cyclical in their own way. As women, we have the 4 inner seasons, or, the ovulation and menstruation, the out and in energy. And just that in a whole month or in a whole lunar cycle, we can have the energy to go in the go mode and to do and to show and to be creative. And then the retrieving energy of the ball, perhaps, but in an energy of curious inner wisdom, instead of let me hide away from the world because I don't know how to care for myself, which was that ball analogy for me back then.
Gosh, yeah. And for me, it wasn't a ball. It was like I was hit by a truck. I used to have these adrenal shutdowns when I was working for years in social services and giving so much to the position and taking on everyone's burdens and cares and worries and wanting them to have, a happy and fulfilling life. And how can I support them in that? And how the, people that were lost in the system, getting them out, and, just very externally focused on other people and wanting to support them and giving so much of my time and energy to that. Like you said, in your job, there's a lot of energy given to that I would, my burnout showed itself as just a shutdown. Like I literally couldn't get up. There was just no energy to do that. It was just lay down flat. It was like the world had knocked me down, my work had knocked me down, or really taking self-responsibility for making the choices that led me there. And it wasn't so much self-care, because I would engage in self-care. However, it wasn't enough when you're giving so much from your heart and from that authentic space, it's necessary to take time for regeneration and for soul care, which is something I'm a huge proponent of, being able to keep your spirit intact, right? And having that divine connection and remembering yourself as a spiritual being, just learning to master this human experience. But it also opens us up to not just trying to manage it, but all the possibilities of what we can experience while we're here. So tell us a little bit more about you and what you enjoy experiencing in your life and what gives you meaning and purpose now.
Thank you. To add and touch on what you also just shared, it's like if that soul alignment and living from that place of fulfillment happens from a heart space.
Yes.
And so I know when I'm too much in my head, I will give more space to worry, to doubt, to thoughts like, you're not good enough, or thoughts like, well, this can't work, or any negative thought, because the ego is afraid. The ego wants to protect whatever it is it wants to protect. And that way of living, I call it's the doing mode. And that is not necessarily in alignment with the purpose. Although if you hear a snorting dog next to me, it's because there's a dog next to me. So apologies. She's old and she needs the love. So she's really stuck to my body.
Oh, sweet.
When I get to access my beingness and I recognize these thoughts of worry, of doubt, of pessimism, of judgment, of self-neglect, the stories that are entertained in the mind, when I can notice them from an external point of view and go, you're not invited. It really just kind of shut the door, not in a way to ignore them, because when they're not manifested in the body as an emotion, like they're not taking over my body, like pressure at the head or panic attacks, for example. When it's not manifested in the body yet, I feel like I can shut those thoughts out and be like, no, you're not invited. I did not ask you to take over. You do not deserve to take the wheel right now. So that is me switching the ego from driving the seat to the soul driving the seat, driving the car. And I feel like I'm living my purpose when I can take action. So be in the doing from an energy of being, which can sound counterproductive, but I'm not saying to discount the ego 100% or that doing energy is bad. Rather, when I show up, for example, for this podcast with you, I know that I'm anchored in my inner confidence. I know that I'm anchored in my mission, which is to help others be in their light, access their inner confidence so that they can live life in alignment with their passions outside of what everyone else expects of them and wants of them. And I do that anchored in the beingness of who I am, which is aligned, connected, trusting, seeing through the eyes of love, confident. So when I take action from that place of just, I'm reconnecting to my mission, I'm tuned in to why I'm here, then I take action. It's just an alignment. So the doing is not driving this car. It's not in the driver's seat. And yet I can be human and take action, but from a soulfully aligned place.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. The action and the doing comes from a different place and a different energy that supports that. It's about taking aligned and inspired action. And it's more about being guided. There's no push or pressure added to that. It's effortless, really. And I find when we do that inner work and really tune in and become aligned and grounded and centered, then the outer work becomes effortless because you're in the flow. Yeah,
totally. And sometimes I feel like swearing, but effing flow. Sometimes it's like the mind thinks it can have control over flow. It's like when we start to do inner work, sometimes I feel it myself where I get so caught up in what I want the flow to provide me that I want to control the flow.
Right.
That's when I'm like, get out of your head.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of your head. It's true. We get to take aligned action from a place of being, and we still get to be human and trip,
Yeah.
because that's what we do. And it's our job to notice whenever we are getting caught up in the ambition or in the energy of the head that would be, I'm just doing this to prove, or I'm just doing this to showcase, or to prove my worthiness. Whenever that comes in, oh, that's not the energy of the soul, because the soul is already worthy and does not need to prove itself.
Yes.
Herself.
Yeah, to really be in touch with that true intention and motivation behind what we're doing and where it's coming from and how we want to be directing that, because that really impacts the kind of impact and influence and results that we get, or that show up, or that manifest as a result of that inspired action, or that push, or that pull, that sense of control. And we do have choices, so we can become more conscious and aware of how we can choose and how we can decide. And that's not so much about control, it's just about being conscious and being aware and making sure that intention and that motivation is coming from, as I'm hearing you say, from that place of being.
Totally. Thank you for saying that. The intention can come from the intuition. To also touch on what you were saying before, that when we are in the heart, we get to access our inner knowing, that is the intuitive voice. And some people can be in an instant, like I feel like you get it like as a flash of, yep, this is yes, this is no. This is how I get it. I get yes or no answers pretty quickly. It's when I start to ask questions from the mind, like, what does this mean? Or what is this? What's the learning from this? I'm trying to make something of a situation. I'm trying to make more of a situation than what it just is. And so my intuition will come more easily while being in the flow of being in alignment with myself in the present moment. And when I ask yes or no questions, that's when my intuition will drop. And yet many of my clients, they will receive intuitive hits from differently. It'll take longer. It won't be a yes or no. They will have a feeling in their body. They will feel it like, oh, this feels more open and expansive instead of constricting and closed.
Yes.
That would be their indicator of, oh, this openness is more my intuition. This feels more flowy. I'm going to go with that. And hence we can make decisions from that place. And when we have the intention of just being aware, then we can make a decision to go either way. We can go with our intuition, with what our intuition says, and we can go with what our head says. It doesn't, there's nothing wrong with making an informed, intentional decision, because we're no longer a victim when we choose it from an awareness.
Yes, yes. So well said. Absolutely. And so, Claudia-Sam, how do people tune in then? Because I know sometimes when we're away from doing, I know it was for me, because I was like hyper productive and hyper vigilant all the time, and wasn't comfortable even with the word relax. That would make me feel like I wanted to cringe, because I would resist the idea of having to slow down and tune in and to be relaxed and be uncomfortable. I know some people that I've spoken to get uncomfortable with that space of not doing, that they feel like they should be doing something, that they need to be productive, or they should be accomplishing something, or they can't just sit down, or, there's that restlessness. So how do you support people in slowing down just enough to be able to start tuning in? How do they do that?
Thank you. One of the easiest tools is something that we are all doing right now and we're not aware. We're breathing. It's in and out constantly. In and out. Breath in, breath out. Breath in for rejuvenation, breath out for detoxifying. It's always in and out. So when people say, I don't have time for self-care, I say, you're not wanting to prioritize yourself, because self-care can happen in the instant of a breath. Right now. We breathe in. We breathe out. Just that one breath can shift the reaction to even a decision making from a more intentional place, because we took one conscious breath.
Yes.
There's also some questions that we can ask, to find out if the voice that we hear is the intuition or if it's the head. And I often feel like when something is automatic, you know how some people will wake up and they'll take their phone. It's automatic. They have to check their phone. Otherwise, the planet's going to die. Like that urge of like, I have to take my phone. That automatic action tells me that there's an operation from ahead. There's no intention behind taking the phone unless you consciously are picking up your phone with loving awareness, and that you're not going to be triggered by any email or any messages from anyone because you're anchored in yourself first.
Yes.
Like that's a totally different way of acting and operating. So I wanted to try to find if I could remember those 4 questions. So maybe I can just wing it here with you and share questions that I tend to share with my clients and that I used to ask myself when I started to reflect on, okay, is this my head voice? Is this my heart voice? Would that be helpful?
Yes, sure. Absolutely.
Okay. So one of the first voices or questions that I would ask to find out if it's the voice of the head or the heart would be, is it scary? Is it scary? Because often the head will want to choose something that is safe. The head will want to choose something that is not scary because it's easy. It's the comfortable route. So whenever the thought, often, not all the time, but for me anyways, whenever I ask myself, is this scary? If it is, it's the voice of the intuition. Is it scary? Then the second one would be, is this in alignment with what's important to me? Is this in alignment with what's important to me? And now I mean soul important, your mission important, your purpose importance, not, because then they're going to judge me if I don't do it. No, that's not the same importance, because then you would put importance on the judgment from others. So is what I'm about to do or say or take action on in alignment with what's important to me? The third question would be, does it feel right? And right, not as there's a bad option, but rather, does it just feel good? Does it feel good? In other words, does it feel expansive, open, nurturing, loving? Or does it feel like, oh my gosh, this is not an act of love? So, okay, we're at 3 questions. The 4th question, if I can remember. I don't remember. So let's keep it at 3 questions.
Yeah, those are very important questions, and a good way, a really good way of being able to tune in. Yeah.
Thank you. If you have one to add, we can add.
Yeah, well, just those felt expressions too that you mentioned earlier about whether you're feeling contracted or expansive. I think that's a good way too, and to start tuning in and checking in where your yes and no comes from, being able to practice that even.
You mean like physically in the body, where they come from?
Yeah, noticing that, and that reconnects you in the body as well. For some people, their center is in the heart. For some, it's in the lower dantian or below the belly in the sacral chakra, for example. And for others, it might be the solar plexus, their power center, or they might feel it in their throat. If not speaking their truth, that might feel tight and restrictive. Or if you're feeling threatened or anxious or not in alignment, then the back of the neck, there could be some strain, some neck pain there. Or if you're not feeling connected to your intuition in your head, so one of the questions could be, how am I feeling in the body? And what is my energy like right now? Yeah,
I love that. Also, for you listeners, I have an episode of the Be Happy Now show that's called what is your inner body indicator?
Yes.
And if ever you're curious, I love to use that. What's your inner body indicator of stress, of anxiety, of whatever, of overwhelm? You can tune into your body. And I believe in that episode, there's a meditation you can do.
Yeah, perfect. That's fantastic. Yes. And so what else do you offer? I know you had a free gift for our audience as well. So tell us about that.
Oh, thank you. Well, I did create a 3-step audio guide to help you put yourself first, especially if you feel like you're not, there's not enough time and you have that excuse and you can want to get rid of that excuse, then you can download my free 3-step audio guide to help you put yourself at the top of the to-do list without guilt or shame, without feeling unproductive, because when you start to put yourself first, you just create time. And you can go to claudiasamsoulcoaching.com/I'm important
to
download that.
Excellent. I'll put that link in the show notes too, so people can just click on that. And what's the best way to contact you, Claudia-Sam?
Thank you. Well, through my website at claudiasamsoulcoaching.com, there is a contact form. Otherwise, I'm on Facebook, and I have a free Facebook group for soul connectors who want to align with their passions, those who know deep down that they're here for a bigger reason. And so the group is called You Have It In You. So if you go on Facebook, you look me up and you can join the group. And I love to chat on Messenger through voice messaging. That would be a really great way too.
I love that. Even as a message, you have it in you. You have it within you. That is beautiful. Do you have any other final words of wisdom for us today?
Thank you. I guess I would say you have it in you, that inner confidence, that light, that belonging, that worthiness, and the enoughness that you are. And so it is a choice. We were talking about earlier, the choice to listen to either voices, the choice to be in reaction or action. And you are also at choice whether you want to explore deeper parts of yourself, or if you want to keep going through life the way you've been going through life. And there's nothing wrong with it. When you make an empowered decision, that's what we want for you. And as your soul connection coach, I just want you to make empowered decisions. And if you do want to tune in, if you want to get out of your head and into your heart, then I'd love to have you in my Tune In program, which is a 4-month journey, one-on-one journey. And you can find out more if you go to tuneinmethod.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It was so great being able to talk with you and how you've emerged from being in that ball in your office into being aligned and sharing your gifts with the world now. I am so grateful that you were sharing it with us today.
Yay. Thanks, Jennifer, for having me. This is so much fun.
Absolutely. And I want to thank each and every one of you who have been listening and watching on Wise Woman Wednesdays. If you liked what Claudia-Sam had to share and you like this video, then give us a thumbs up and do subscribe, because we have women every week from all over the globe that are also sharing their love and their light and their support for you to be able to feel more in tune with yourself. So we'll see you again next time on Wise Woman Wednesdays. Bye for now.